Hello and welcome to my presentation. The purpose of this presentation is to discuss the theory of successful aging developed by Meredith Troutman Jordan. This presentation will follow the outline as listed. Dr. Troutman Jordan's research has been mainly centered on successful aging. Besides formulating this theory, Dr. Troutman Jordan has performed numerous research studies and published many scholarly articles. The theory of successful aging is made up of three coping processes. The first one is adaptation. The second is intrapsychic factors. And the third one is spirituality. I will touch on each one individually. Adaptation. Adaptation is the utilization of one's self-awareness and the choice to respond to the physical and psychological issues in our environment. In other words, it's our ability to cope with what goes on around us. Essentially, aging people experience deterioration in performance, both physically and psychologically. This deterioration puts the person into a state in which they become vulnerable to physical and emotional threats. However, with the proper support, the aging person can adapt to their environment and become a normal, happy person with a successful aging experience. Intrapsychic factors. Intrapsychic factors are those innate features of aging that may adversely or positively affect us. There are many different factors in our intrapsychic concept. First, intrapsychic factors are really innate features of the aging adults that may adversely or positively affect their ability to cope. Then there are intrinsic factors such as creativity, one's view of themselves, uh, how one deals with self-esteem and personal control. Intrapsychic factors may also be influenced by external as well as internal features. Through nursing intervention, positive intrapsychic factors can be cultivated in order to help our older adults achieve successful aging. Spirituality. Spirituality is generally defined as belief in the existence of something greater than an ordinary human being. Spiritual coping may be considered a viable strategy in situations in which the older adult sees no hope in regaining the youthfulness they had. Additionally, older adults may resort to spirituality as a way of seeking divine healing from the physical or mental deterioration they experience as part of aging. There's also another concept which is called gerotranscendence. In this situation, one develops a new outlook and a new understanding of life. With this broad view of life, it is theorized that the person is now able to become a successful aging adult. There are four aspects to the nursing meta paradigm. The first one is health, then the environment, the second. The third one is person, and the fourth one is nursing. In this case, the person is our patient, the adult aging patient who is experiencing deterioration of their physical and mental faculties. In terms of health, health falls on a continuum, really, where you can have anything between good health and poor health. The goal of the nurse, however, is to help our patients to maintain good health and help them function at their optimum level. The environment. The environment in this theory refers to both external and internal factors. External factors can include any type of issues, such as some of the the, the intrapsychic factors. Internal factors could be the way they look at themselves. Is there any self-acceptance, or even is there any self-esteem? The next aspect is nursing. Nursing, while the older person may successfully cope with the aging experiences, the rate of success in coping really depends on the amount of support they get. A major external support is that of nursing itself, where we provide quality care. The application of this theory to my practice. While aging is inevitable, we can assist our patients to successfully cope with their experiences in order to attain successful aging. I have used this theoretical framework with other older adults with illnesses such as cardiovascular diseases, cancer, and even kidney disease. I have found that treating our aging patients with the same respect and dignity as we treat others is vital to building a trusting relationship with them. Also, because more people are living longer, the public will require a better educated nurse who is familiar with the care of the aging adult, who's also familiar with this framework, and who is ready to provide the best possible care to their patients. Case study. Uh, Mr. G is a 76-year-old male with a history of arthritis and hypertension. He is also status post left hip fracture after falling 4 months ago. Mr. G was discharged to home 3 days prior to my visit. In my interview with Mr. G, he informed me that his son will be getting married in 5 weeks. He also mentioned that he was unable to attend church for 4 months. Mr. G explained that before he injured his hip, he was fully independent and that he was able to do all his cleaning and his cooking and manage on his own. He looked particularly upset when he looked over at his home health aide because he seems to think that he does not need her. In my interview with the home health aide, she informed me that Mr. G had not gone to any of his physical therapy sessions since he's been home. She also mentioned that he hasn't gotten out of bed in 2 days. After considering what I've heard from both clients, both people, I went back to Mr. G and asked him, what can I do to make life better for him? He said to me that he would like to have less pain in his life, and he also would like to attend his son's wedding, which is coming up in 5 weeks. At this point, I got together with Mr. G and came up with a plan of care. The first thing I mentioned to him is that I was going to increase or request an increase of hours for the home health aide so that instead of her being available 4 hours, she will be there 8 hours. And this was an attempt to help him feel safe because since he's not getting out of bed, it might be that he's not safe and he's afraid of falling again. So hopefully this will help him. Secondly, I informed him that he needs to walk at least 2 blocks every day. Then I reminded him that he must attend all physical therapy sessions as ordered. I reminded him also that in order to reduce some of the pain before all this activity, that he should take his pain medicine a half hour to 1 hour before all activity. I also encouraged him to read a book that I left with him and also to follow all his dietary orders. When I returned 2 weeks later, I was happy to see Mr. G up and walking independently with a big smile on his face. And one of the few things I knew that he was concerned about was the first thing he mentioned, that he felt that he would be able to go to his son's wedding. And weaknesses of the theory. Well, I like the theory because it's very simple and it's easy to put in place, especially if you haven't worked with theoretical frameworks before. My only concern is that I feel that the theory does not have enough depth. And by this I mean there should be other concepts added to it. For instance, the concept of caring, because with the elderly, they tend to move slowly and you're required to have more patience with them. If you're not going to allow them time to do certain events, they're going to get offended and think that you're not a caring person. So we need to introduce that concept. The next thing I think we should do is introduce a holistic approach. When our patients leave the hospital, care does not end there because now they go home. So when they go home, care continues So that's the two things that I would like to see added to the theory to give it some depth. In conclusion, the theory of successful aging was developed by Dr. Meredith Troutman Jordan. This framework helps to guide our practice as we provide care to our growing older population. It helps us to understand the aging adult and their needs, as well as help us to help them to age successfully. It is important to remember that successful aging can be accomplished even with having certain illnesses. For instance, a person may have one or even two chronic conditions, but as long as he or she is able to adapt positively and able to embrace the intrapsychic factors and embrace spirituality, then this person is aging successfully. Thank you for listening to my presentation.